Royal divorces aren't just about broken hearts. They come with scandal, betrayal, and enough money to make even billionaires jealous. Some royals walked away with fortunes worth hundreds of millions, while others lost over 90% of their wealth, including their dignity. One settlement alone reached $734 million. Castles, yachts, entire empires were split in two. But which royal divorce was the most expensive of all time? And who paid the ultimate price? Stay with me, because this list will shock you, especially our number one pick. We're talking about a divorce so costly it could rival the entire net worth of King Charles, estimated at around $750 million. Let's count down from number 5, starting with a royal breakup filled with scandal, betrayal, and financial chaos. Some royal divorces end in quiet settlements. Others, they explode into full-blown scandals, and that's exactly what happened when Prince Andrew and Sarah Ferguson's marriage collapsed. It was a financial and public disaster. In the 1980s, Andrew and Sarah seemed like the golden couple of the royal family. They were fun, charming, and refreshingly down to earth. But behind the smiles, cracks had already begun to form. Sarah, better known as Fergie, was bold and unpredictable, far from the demure royal bride the monarch expected. Things took a turn for the worse when Andrew, a naval officer, was often away on duty for months at a time. Alone and under constant media scrutiny, Fergie became an easy target for tabloid attacks. She was painted as reckless, irresponsible, and, worst of all, too common for the royal family. But it wasn't just the press that doomed her. It was the scandal. In 1992, shocking photos surfaced of Fergie on vacation with her financial advisor. And they weren't just sipping cocktails by the pool. Pictures showed him sucking on her toes. Yes, toe sucking. A scandal so outrageous it became a national joke. The royal family was humiliated. Queen was furious. The marriage? Beyond saving. By the time their divorce was finalized in 1996, Fergie walked away with a mere $462,000 cash settlement. Pocket change compared to royal standards. She also received $660,000 for a home and $1.8 million for her daughter's trust funds. That money wasn't hers to spend. Her yearly allowance? A measly $20,000. With almost nothing to her name, Fergie was forced to hustle, turning to book deals and endorsements to stay afloat. But despite their divorce, one thing remained unchanged: Andrew's unwavering financial support. He allowed her to live at the Royal Lodge, the 30-room mansion he leased from the Crown Estate, and even helped cover her debts when she found herself in financial trouble. Meanwhile, Andrew kept his royal privileges until his own scandal destroyed him decades later. In 2019, Andrew's longtime friendship with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein came back to haunt him. He was accused of being involved in Epstein's crimes, a claim he denied, but the damage was done. A disastrous BBC interview only made things worse, and in 2022, Andrew settled a lawsuit with one of Epstein's accusers for a reported $12 million. The scandal cost him everything: his military titles, his royal patronages, and his place in the royal family. In this divorce, neither side truly won. Fergie lost her wealth, Andrew lost his reputation. But despite everything, he continued to provide for her, making their post-divorce relationship one of the strangest in royal history. But if you think this was messy, just wait, because our next royal breakup wasn't just expensive, it shattered the entire fairy tale. It was the wedding of the century. In 1981, millions watched as a shy kindergarten teacher transformed into the Princess of Wales. The love story, straight out of a fairy tale. But behind the scenes, it was unraveling before it had even begun. From the start, Diana knew something was wrong. Charles wasn't just distracted. He was in love with another woman. Camilla Parker Bowles wasn't a figure from his past. She was very much in his present. Even on their honeymoon, Diana stumbled upon a devastating truth. Charles had secretly gifted Camilla a bracelet, engraved with their initials. The betrayal wasn't just a suspicion. It was very real, and it was inescapable. As the years passed, Diana became the most beloved woman in the world. But inside the palace walls, she was drowning. She battled an eating disorder, suffered in isolation, and worst of all, she knew Charles was still seeing Camilla. She once confronted him, pleading, "I know what's going on." His response? Cold and dismissive. "Well, I refuse to be the only Prince of Wales who never had a mistress." Then, in 1992, the world heard the proof. Camilla Gate exploded across the headlines. A secretly recorded phone call between Charles and Camilla was leaked, and it was graphic. Too graphic for a future king. In the recording, Charles infamously told Camilla he wished he could be reincarnated as a tampon so he could stay inside her forever. The world recoiled. The monarchy was humiliated. And Diana? She was publicly vindicated. The damage was irreversible. The Queen herself stepped in, ordering Charles and Diana to divorce. Diana's settlement was massive, $22 million in a lump sum, though far less than the $75 million she originally fought for. She also secured $500,000 per year, kept her apartment in Kensington Palace, and retained her iconic jewelry collection. But there was a catch. She lost her Royal Highness title. That meant she had to curtsy to everyone in the royal family, including her ex-husband. Worse, without royal protection, she was left exposed, a global icon without the security that once shielded her from the relentless paparazzi. 1 year later, she was gone. Her tragic death in 1997 sent shockwaves across the world. Theories swirled. Some said it was a tragic accident. Others believed something far more sinister. One thing was undeniable. While Charles went on to marry Camilla and ascend to the throne, Diana had paid the ultimate price. But if you think that was a costly divorce, our next one didn't just destroy a marriage, it tore apart an entire country. Most divorces split families. This one split a kingdom. In 1137, King Louis VII of France married Eleanor of Aquitaine, the most powerful woman of her time. Their union wasn't about love, it was about power. With Eleanor, Louis controlled Aquitaine, a vast and wealthy region that nearly doubled the size of his kingdom. But there was one problem. Eleanor was bold, brilliant, and fiercely independent, everything Louis was not. She wanted a ruler by her side, not a pious, indecisive king shackled to the church. He was devoted and soft-spoken. She was ambitious and relentless. They clashed over everything: politics, war, even the Crusades. And worst of all, after 15 years, there was still no male heir. By 1152, the marriage was unsalvageable. Louis, humiliated and under pressure, sought an annulment. When the Vatican granted it, he believed he had finally rid himself of a difficult wife. But he had no idea what was coming next. Within weeks, Eleanor married Henry Plantagenet, who just 2 years later became King Henry II of England. And just like that, her lands, nearly half of France, belonged to England. Louis had lost not just a wife, but his greatest asset. Eleanor didn't just leave him, she outmaneuvered him. This divorce wasn't measured in money, it was measured in power, and Eleanor won. But if history has proven anything, it's this. The more money at stake, the messier the divorce. And our final royal breakup, it set a record so staggering, it's still unrivaled to this day. Some royal marriages start with a grand romance, others with a scandal. Princess Caroline of Monaco, daughter of Hollywood legend Grace Kelly, thought she had found love again when she married Prince Ernst August of Hanover. What she didn't know was that their whirlwind affair would spiral into one of the messiest royal breakups in history. Their love didn't just break hearts, it broke a marriage. In the mid-1990s, Ernst was still married to Swiss heiress Chantal Hoculi, his wife of 16 years and mother of his children. But then came Caroline. Elegant, grieving, and vulnerable after the tragic death of her husband, Stefano Casiraghi. What began as a friendship turned into something much more. The two were inseparable, spotted together across Europe. Their stolen moments fueled high society gossip. The affair shattered Ernst's marriage, leading to a high-speed divorce. Just 6 months later, he married Caroline in 1999. The timing? Suspicious. Caroline was already pregnant with their daughter, Alexandra. And with their marriage, she was granted something even more valuable: the title of Her Royal Highness, Princess of Hanover. It should have been the start of a grand new chapter. Instead, it was the beginning of a disaster. Ernst was no fairy tale prince. He was unpredictable, reckless, and scandal-prone. He was caught urinating on public buildings, starting drunken fights, and insulting world leaders. His behavior became a royal embarrassment, especially for Monaco's pristine image. Caroline endured it all, for years. But behind closed doors, the marriage was collapsing. His outbursts grew worse, the scandals more humiliating. By 2009, she had enough. They separated. But here's the catch. Their divorce battle never ended. Under their prenup, Caroline was entitled to $85 million after being married long enough. But Ernst, he refused to make it easy. Their divorce has been stuck in a never-ending legal limbo. A bitter fight over titles, money, and the future of the Hanover family fortune. And where are they now? Caroline remains Monaco's most respected royal, focusing on philanthropy and her children. Ernst, on the other hand, he's still making headlines for all the wrong reasons. His own son took him to court to reclaim their family's ancestral castle after Ernst tried to evict him. A romance born out of scandal ended in one of the most chaotic royal separations ever. And it's still not over. Because when it comes to royal divorces, sometimes happily ever after just never arrives. But if $85 million sounds like a fortune, our final divorce dwarfs them all. The most expensive royal divorce in history wasn't in Europe. It was in the Middle East. And it didn't just cost money. It cost lives, freedom, and shattered reputations. Princess Haya of Jordan was no ordinary royal bride. Educated at Oxford and a champion equestrian, she was modern, outspoken, and independent. Everything that made her stand out in the world of Middle Eastern royalty. In 2004, at 30 years old, she married Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, the powerful ruler of Dubai. He was in his mid-50s and already had 5 wives. Their connection? Horse racing. It was Sheikh Mohammed's obsession, and Haya, an Olympic-level equestrian, was already a respected name in the sport. She admired his vision for Dubai, and he saw in her a wife who could bridge the gap between tradition and modernity. At first, their marriage seemed strong. Haya was given a prominent public role, appearing at international events as Dubai's glamorous and modern face. But behind the palace walls, it was a very different story. As the 6th wife, she held no real power. Over time, she discovered horrifying secrets, namely what had happened to 2 of Sheikh Mohammed's daughters, Princess Shamsa and Princess Latifa, who had both attempted to escape and were forcibly taken back to Dubai. Haya was terrified. And then came the final betrayal. Sheikh Mohammed discovered that Haya had grown close to one of her bodyguards. What followed was a chilling campaign of intimidation, gun threats, helicopters hovering over her palace, and ominous notes left in her bedroom. She knew what happened to women who defied him. So, in 2019, she did the unthinkable. She fled Dubai with her 2 children, seeking asylum in London. What followed was a brutal legal battle. The final price tag? $734 million. This wasn't just about money. It was about survival, and for Princess Haya, the price was worth it. There you have it, the most expensive royal divorces in history. Some walked away richer than ever, others lost everything. Their wealth, their power, even their freedom. One thing's clear, when royals say "I do," the price of "I don't" can be staggering. Which of these divorces shocked you the most? Let me know in the comments. And if you love royal drama, don't forget to subscribe because, trust me, there's always another scandal just around the corner. See you next time.